Canadians are reasonable and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake.
What if the trade policies debated in Washington and Ottawa were quietly reshaping your daily expenses? Imagine waking up one morning to discover your coffee, groceries, and gas have all suddenly cost more because of high stakes. Trade war is unfolding right under your nose. With Canada slapping 25% tariffs on $155 billion of American goods, this trade war could mean higher prices at the checkout and a shift in how you shop for essentials. Stick around as we break down how these global decisions are quietly changing your wallet and why you should be paying attention. Chapter 1. Setting the stage. The build-up to retaliatory tariffs.
But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country.
In recent weeks, tensions between the US and Canada have escalated dramatically. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused President Trump of trying to orchestrate a collapse of Canada's economy. Trudeau's blunt televised address warned that American consumers would bear the brunt of this trade war, as tariffs would raise prices on essential goods ranging from groceries to cars. Trudeau's message was both a rallying cry for Canadians and a stern warning to Americans about the potential cost of these policies. Recent trade data shows that Canada's exports to the US have been growing at around 6.04% year over year, underscoring how interdependent our economies are. Yet with billions in immediate retaliatory tariffs announced by Canada, these long-standing trade ties are now under unprecedented strain. For everyday Americans and Canadians, this isn't just abstract policy. Consumers are already reporting higher prices at the supermarket and more expensive gasoline. When Trudeau warned that tariffs would raise the cost of everyday essentials, many families began comparing receipts, and in some areas, prices have already increased noticeably, hinting at the economic ripple effects on daily life. Chapter 2. Trudeau's accusations and the US retaliatory posture.
Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator.
Trudeau didn't mince words. He directly accused Trump of pursuing policies that would not only destabilize Canada's economy, but also harm American consumers by driving up costs. On American cable channels, Trudeau's address was hard-hitting. He argued that Trump's tariffs intended to protect American jobs would instead risk hurting American families by increasing the prices of everything from gas to household goods. Trudeau's criticisms are backed by data, with US manufacturers relying on Canadian materials and parts. The tariffs risk disrupting an industry that spans both nations. The US Chamber of Commerce has already expressed concern that such measures could lead to price hikes that directly affect consumers' budgets. On a practical level, imagine heading out for a family dinner or a weekend road trip and finding that the cost of your car repairs or the price at the pump has jumped. That's the real-life impact of these geopolitical tensions, a direct hit to your wallet that makes day-to-day budgeting a lot more challenging. Chapter 3. The economic fallout. Immediate tariff impacts.
Today, we will also be challenging these illegal actions by filing dispute resolution claims at the World Trade Organization and through the USMCA.
Let's look at the numbers. Canada announced retaliatory tariffs totaling an immediate $30 billion, with an additional $125 billion in tariffs on the horizon if US measures persist. These are among the largest punitive economic measures seen in recent memory. Analysts warn that such steep tariffs will lead to rising inflation, disrupted supply chains, and ultimately higher prices for consumers. For example, auto manufacturers who source parts across the border are already facing an estimated 5% increase in production costs. In sectors like electronics and agriculture, similar cost hikes are expected, which are then passed on to shoppers and families. What does this mean for you? Picture your weekly grocery bill increasing as imported fruits and vegetables become more expensive. Or think about your next car purchase, a model you once had in your price range might now be out of reach because manufacturers have raised prices to cover tariff costs. This isn't a distant theory. It's a reality unfolding in stores and on gas stations right now. Chapter 4: Implications for Canada-US Relations.
Now, just like I did a month ago, I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either.
Historically, the US and Canada have shared one of the world's most robust and mutually beneficial trade relationships. However, the current exchange of harsh rhetoric and massive tariffs signals a potential long-term shift. Trudeau's remarks suggest that Canada no longer feels it can rely on the US in the same way it once did. A recent survey indicates that nearly 37% of Canadian business leaders believe that the trust between the two nations has been significantly eroded. Economic models warn that prolonged tariff disputes could reduce Canada's GDP by up to 1.2% over the next 5 years, representing a heavy toll on an economy that depends heavily on US markets. For everyday citizens, this growing mistrust and potential economic downturn can lead to job insecurity and reduced public services. Imagine a neighbor losing their job because a factory cuts back production due to declining exports, or a local business forced to raise prices because its costs have increased. These aren't just numbers on a chart, they affect our communities and our quality of life. Chapter 5: Domestic Reactions, Political and Public Responses. The political fallout has been fierce. On the Canadian side, opposition leaders have called for urgent support measures, including targeted tax cuts and expanded employment insurance, to cushion workers from the tariff shock. Meanwhile, in the US, figures on Capitol Hill are divided. Some Republicans support Trump's approach as necessary for national security and job creation, while others worry that the costs will be passed on to American consumers. A notable statistic: US consumer prices have already increased by about 0.3% in areas heavily impacted by cross-border trade disruptions. Business leaders warn that unless these measures are reversed, the everyday cost of living will continue to climb. Think about the effect on your paycheck and your shopping trips. With political debates raging, consumers are seeing real-world price hikes. Whether it's your weekly fuel cost or the price tag on groceries, these political decisions translate directly into higher living costs that hit the average family hard. Chapter 6: Trump's Counterattack, Social Media and Policy Rhetoric. Please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the US, our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. Not one to be outdone, President Trump responded forcefully on social media. On Truth Social, he warned that any retaliatory tariffs by Canada would prompt an immediate, even larger, round of US tariffs. His tweet stressed that these measures were designed not only to protect US jobs, but also to pressure trading partners into changing their policies regarding border security and illegal drug flows. Analysts note that while Trump's messaging is aimed at rallying his base, it also creates significant uncertainty in the markets. Indeed, stocks have reacted negatively to these tariff escalations, with many experts predicting a further economic slowdown if the trade war deepens. From the perspective of an ordinary consumer, Trump's tweets aren't just political rhetoric, they can lead to sudden price shocks. For instance, if a company decides to pass along the extra cost of new tariffs on your smartphone or laptop, you might see a price jump at checkout. These everyday items become more expensive simply because of tweets and policy decisions made far from our grocery aisles. Chapter 7: The Broader Economic Impact, Supply Chains and Market Stability. Beyond the direct tariff numbers, the broader economic impact includes disrupted supply chains that stretch from manufacturing plants in Canada to assembly lines in the US. Analysts warn that even a slight slowdown in cross-border shipments can have a domino effect on industries like automotive manufacturing, electronics, and agriculture. Inflationary pressures are mounting, with experts predicting that if these trends continue, both US and Canadian households could face double-digit increases in certain cost of living areas. Imagine going to your local hardware store and finding that the price of lumber has jumped, or hearing that your favorite grocery store has fewer imported fruits due to supply delays. These supply chain issues mean that the things you rely on every day, from building materials to fresh produce, might not only cost more, but could also be less available, adding uncertainty to everyday shopping and planning. In summary, the trade dispute between the United States and Canada isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about a fundamental shift in one of the world's most intertwined economic relationships. As President Trump and Prime Minister Trudeau exchange pointed barbs, the broader implications for global trade are becoming clearer. This conflict is a bellwether for the rise of economic nationalism and could redefine how nations interact on the global stage. As we've seen today, the trade tensions between the US and Canada are about more than just political posturing or economic theory. They have immediate, tangible effects on the daily lives of millions of people, from higher prices at the pump and in grocery stores to the potential loss of jobs in key industries. This trade conflict underscores the interconnected nature of modern economies. Staying informed is crucial because these policies aren't happening in isolation. They affect our families, our communities, and our future. If you found this analysis helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more updates, and let us know in the comments how you think these changes will affect your day-to-day life.